The date is June 24th, 2017. This is a part 3 of the Altima Clutch job and etc. maintenance. I didn't think I was going to have this much content, but at this point this project has taken a rather interesting turn. I was about 1 day away from installing the old transmission in the car, and then I learned that the Sentra 2002 to 2006 Sentra Se-R Spec-Vs had a 6-speed manual that bolted up to the same exact engine, and that's what I've acquired here. Used junkyard item, taking a risk and see what happens, but that's really going to be worth the payoff if all goes well here. The shift linkage is this, it's the same as far as where the shift cables attach. It's a little bit different down in there. Just a comment on my last video, in order to get this out, it's real easy. You just got to take this bolt out right here. This here is just a little roller on the inside. It comes out, but you don't need to take that out. So that's a roller. This here is your neutral switch, and then this here is basically, I think it's just a lock of some kind when you actually move the shifter. So take this out, tap this gently with a rubber mallet, it'll come right out. I have the old one here. I'm not going to take that out because there's not a whole lot to see in there. But I have the one out of the 5-speed right here. Now, one of the things you give up is right here, this little mechanism, which as far as I can tell, this is the lockout, so you can't put it in reverse from 5th. And you lose that functionality in the 6-speed, but Nissan never developed that. It's not like you're losing it because you're doing this change. They never developed it. This whole assembly does not have this on it at all. So it's factory. That's the way it was, but by design, it's kind of a shame. But it is what it is. So I just wanted to comment on that. Some people have commented in the forums that you're losing that functionality because you're doing this conversion, and that's not the case. It just wasn't there by design. So aside from the 6-speed, the biggest thing about this transmission is it has a limited slip differential, and that's what really excited me about this. There's not a whole lot to see in there, but if you look in your stock one, you're gonna have a big rod in the middle. You can tell that that's different. As far as what I've read, the all Spec-Vs with the 6-speed have the limited slip differential. So if you're getting a 6-speed, you're getting the limited slip. Do your homework on that, but from what I've seen, that's correct. So as far as what everybody says, the few people online, there's no videos on this, and there's only a few forum posts that I found, so not a lot of data on it, but from what I've read, it bolts right on. I can't see any differences in this as far as bolting or sensors or anything like that, so looking good on that front. The only thing I did notice is the speedometer sensor gear here. When I first examined this and compared, the first thing I noticed was the connector points towards the transmission. Now, the one you're looking at right now, this is the 6-speed transmission, and this sensor is the one out of my 5-speed. And then the one I have in my hand here is the original one that came with this transmission. And you can see that the connector points out to the right instead of towards the transmission. I couldn't figure out for the life of me why Nissan would design it that way. And I looked up the tire size for the Sentra Spec-V, and they're a little larger. So you can see if you measure these gears, the one gear is a little bit larger than the other. So this is the only major difference I found in this transmission so far. And I wasn't willing to put, so again, this is the smaller gear out of my 5-speed. And I wasn't willing to put this in at first because if you look down in here, I really couldn't believe that they would use a different ring. I guess this is a ring and pinion, so that would be the ring gear, the white gear. I couldn't imagine that they would use a different size ring gear inside there for different tire sizes or for different cars. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And the fact that I'd be putting a smaller gear in there means that they're not going to line up perfectly. And if that winds up damaging that gear in there, I wasn't willing to take that risk at first, because then the transmission has to come out and I'm not going to have a speedometer, and it's going to throw a code and I won't be able to get it inspected or whatever else. So, but then I noticed if you look at this, you know, going back to how these are clocked differently, I wanted to look for some kind of lobed difference, and if you can see, that is offset, and that is exactly what they did. And this is all theorizing and speculation. Don't take my word for it. Do your homework and, you know, make a decision for yourself. But this is a lobed. This one appears to be straight. You know, it's lined up straight with the shaft all the way out. But this one's definitely lobed. So as you turn this, as they, you know, manipulate where they want to put that that screw hole to clock it where they want it, you're actually putting this gear closer or farther away from the ring gear. So with that, and just you know, it's a strong assumption, but I think it's a pretty valid one. I think that's going to work. I'm going to keep an eye on the speedometer the first time I start it. If I notice any problems, I'll switch back to the other one. It's probably going to be, with that one, it's probably going to be 5 miles an hour off, and then I'll have to pursue that on the other end and see what I can do. So, yeah, I don't really expect to run into any other problems with this. I probably will post a part 4 just to recap it and, you know, mention any other things I've run into, but it should be very straightforward based on what I've read. So if there's any questions on this, you know, again, there's no other videos on doing the Altima, the 2002 to 2006 Altima 5-speed to 6-speed conversion is what this would be. So yeah, I just wanted to get this information out there because it's really not something that a lot of people have done, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next update. Should be in a couple weeks.